Good morning everybody, welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great and welcome to this new video right here on Ethereum. We're going to do a full update. We'll talk a little bit about some fundamentals, or at least some fundamentals related topics for Ethereum that I think you need to know about. We'll talk about the price of ETH, of course, as you can see on the screen. So yeah, let's get right into it. Hope you're all having a great start of the weekend, if I did not say that already. I think the weekend in general for Ethereum is going to be relatively quiet. There's always altcoin moves, right? And there's always momentum upwards or downwards, but I think ultimately for Ethereum right now, which would be in line with the price action we've had over the last 24 hours, because the bounce from Ethereum, just to kind of slowly get into the analysis, the bounce that Ethereum had compared to Bitcoin is actually relatively weak, and there's a significant difference. Now, do I think ultimately that will change what I said yesterday and what I expect from Ethereum? No. All right, so what I said yesterday for Ethereum is that I still, after hitting the bottom of the consolidation range, which you can see very clearly here on the screen, after hitting the bottom, I'd say it's most likely, and I said it's most likely, that we would move up to the top of the consolidation right here at 2630, and I still do think that. But if we dive into Ethereum a little bit deeper, and especially also if we know what Bitcoin did and what kind of the order flow was behind Bitcoin, what you'll find out is that if you take a look at this, like Ethereum, we had some leverage coming into the price of Ethereum quite quickly after the bounce. But ultimately, we have lost a lot of open interest, right? While with Bitcoin, we actually saw quite a lot of open interest being gained, and that was short positions being opened, that was long positions being opened, and it seems to me that this bounce for Ethereum was also used by some leveraged position holders to exit their positions while the market was recovering. That's why the open interest went down, with the CVD being slightly negative. And now we actually do have some new positioning coming into the price of Ethereum, but it's minimal. It's some shorts being opened right here, so that actually makes me a little bit positive, how strange it might sound. But that's potential fuel for the upsides, and I think that the structure for Ethereum and the fundamentals are still quite good, right? With all the strength we've seen in the last month, let's keep it at that, and some of the fundamental developments around stablecoins, I still think that it makes sense that Ethereum holds this range. When we are in a range, which we are respecting right now, it's always best to assume that it's going to hold. So in that sense, you know, having these short orders open, yeah, sure, we might retest the main support level right here at 2400 and 2440, but ultimately I don't think they'll last, and then it's fuel for a move up. Right, then outside of that, if you take a look at ETH BTC, right, so the literal relative strength of Ethereum against Bitcoin, you'll see that that's getting towards some strong support levels as well. So that suggests a brief period of time at least of some outperformance from Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So that's a good sign of, as well. And then, you know, if we're looking at the markets in general, I think more recovery is most likely. If you want to know why I think that, consider checking out my Bitcoin video. That's normally where I talk a little bit more about the markets. You know, Bitcoin I normally see as the markets. But yeah, for those reasons, I still think it's most likely we're going to get that move up. Now, I do want to remind you of two things. First of all, there's quite strong resistance right here in the middle of the range around 2550. We might reject from there, but that's not a problem. And then second of all, this is still a fundamentals market. All right, so if we actually do get some major news about trade deals, about geopolitics, whatever, we can still get a bearish breakdown, right? So even though at this point of time, technically everything looks great, fundamentals matter more, and fundamentals can change within the next hour, right? That's uncertain. That's pure speculation. So yeah, I'd say this is most likely, but just be aware of that. Be ready for that. Keep that in mind when opening trades. But yeah, I think that's everything you need to know. So thank you for watching. Take care and bye.